How's it going? So I wanted to kind of go over a little bit more on linguistics, and my biggest thing that I tried to learn and try to do is I gotta have like a purity in my words. And today I'm going to teach you basically about when you speak. You can actually, I think every single letter, there's a test that you can use, and it's called the toe and foot moisture test and the perfection test. And how it works is basically you just look at it like there's a camera, like there's something blocking here, right? And you can see your toes like that. And like they can be moist and they have to look good and feel good, without, like, if they open like that and crackle, then it's no good. It's got to be able to keep your foot moist without it getting too moist to where it gets all sweaty like you're working too hard, and without getting like ugly to where you don't take care of it. And it's got to be able to hold in the words where, because you don't want it to get cracked and open, and that'll happen. And you don't want it to like lose form, and it has to be closed. And you have to be respectful, and basically it's like not having to, like, you don't have to suck it, but if you like have respect with your foot and it's yours and there's nothing else that can touch it and dirty it and mess it up, then it will have a perfect, smell, and a perfect, your hand can be like that. But I'm saying that a foot is probably you can do it with your hands too, because your hands can get crackled in between them, like when you're washing your hands and they like use like detergent. You can make it to where you get weak to the detergent because your words don't have a seal that closes them all the way in. But anyway, another thing that you can do is look at your words I don't know why the hell you wouldn't do this, but while you draw them, kind of have a way where, like, your mouth is completely closed off, like, without it doing anything. So it's completely, completely closed, not completely open. Because otherwise you'll get bad taste in your mouth. And there should be a way to kind of punish that if it, I try to soak up every single sing. Every single thing becomes single sing. When it's not closed and stressed perfectly. That your foot, isn't being, and it has all that annoying stuff that gets in there, and they're like, someone's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And it just gets all wanka wanka wanka, and it looks like that Six Flags guy with those big giant glasses, and it's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And it's just so annoying, and you're like, "Shut the fuck up," and it's like, "Thank you," you have to have control over that, otherwise you'll have ugly feet, and they'll probably only be ugly for a couple days, but there's got to be a suction rule where you're like the suction is even, like, and you can test it with the moisture. And basically I kind of drew these for you so you can understand how that works, so you can ignore some stuff. But basically it's just saying that, like, a perfect amount of moisture is a perfect amount. Like, when your hand smells like it smells like a good smelling hand, and it smells good. Or, your foot smells good and you're like, man, that smells like my foot. That's a good smelling foot, is like precise lettering. When you have the perfect speech that that you don't have like nasty hands and you talk like this and it just goes all the way around it and gets it nasty and dirty, because, I think that it's art. So when you draw, when you're drawing, like, let's say A, the best way to learn how that can work in linguistics is to kind of feel it when you draw it. Like, the A goes in between your toe and then goes around it like that. So when we draw the A, we have a toe here, and it's always, all it has to be is just this part where you have the pinky toe and that one. And you can just kind of see it from there, because that's how all the letters are drawn, And then you can see how A is like that, and, B, is like a B, and it has to be in one line, of course, so here and here, is the B, so we know that that's a toe. C, all of it has to be your toe though. Like, like C would have to draw around here. Like in order to draw like your entire body and without it getting like nasty and all that, you'd have to be able to do that, but also like as kind of a guideline, I have like open areas where I said that, that I couldn't make the C be my toe. Like I want to make sure that I can draw a part of my body and that it will say everything I needed to say, But here's like a closed mouth part, to where it makes a perfect C, because that is meaning that I'm staying away from, that, so that I can, so nothing goes in my mouth, because you don't want something to go in your mouth. And, you don't want feet in your mouth, I mean, I know that taking care of yourself is important, but you don't want to confuse, the fact that, not taking care of your feet and, I mean, that has nothing to do with it. It's just, that, there's open and closed. And then by understanding that temperature, like if you get too sweaty, then it'll kind of start smelling sweet, like sweet tarts, and that's not good, But anyway, it should be like a dry and a wet extreme. And that way, when you have the perfect writing, it's like being an amphibian, so you can perfectly have it wet to where it needs to be wet, and you can use your speech to wet it, with this, because you have C, E, I, G, and, all the rest of them, T, V, S, and M, seem to be the most like, oh, and O, like probably the most like ones that are quiet, and that should be like just the fog from your breath, like when it's on a window or like on your hand, like would be those, and it's the way that it's written should be like nice and, without it making a big mess and going and just being, and then it just sits there, and it just can't have, I got to work out all the things like when I have an annoying burp. I still have to get the science of what that is, So, anyway, I mean, I can literally sit there and talk to you for so long because I know that I'm drawing one line, is all I'm doing. I'm doing one line this whole time. And if it has anything that like, I can see what you were doing. I can see why it was there. And I know that it bothers me, so then I have to work all the way around and let it know that it needs to know what that is, And when you write like that, you'll be amphibious. It's kind of like how like black people always wear lotion. That's how you can figure out how it works, or like, like black people always have like, like more oil. Like I'm Spanish, so I have a little bit more oil in my skin that makes it, a little bit more oily. But everybody has, concentrations like that. And then, you need the perfect amount of it. You don't need like, you don't want to have, to where it's like all nasty and greasy, and, you don't want to have it like, just a burger that just, you dip it in McDonald's and it's just got that drip and oozing off of it. You don't want that. You want to have like a perfect temperate, like you can look at it like a dog's paw, as usually the perfect, like you can tell that, my hand can be the perfect hand, because you can smell it and it's not like too many Doritos is on it, and, or, that it's been, like soaking in that nasty soap and it gets all of that crap on my hands and then it has all the wrinkles, it's got to have, a perfect, like you can easily observe it from afar and it won't have any errors in it. So that way it stays intact and then you can preserve what you say, because you have, there's a time to swallow and it shouldn't be like you're swallowing anything. It's supposed to be keeping it away from you is what that's for. And, then the rest of the letters, D, C, E, and all of that, this will help you, figure out how to, distinguish the difference between your mouth and your foot. And it'll also be able to distinguish like the moisture that could passively come from my breath could, using this one line that is going across here, which, instead of it being, like one goes here and, all that other, I mean, if there was anything else, I mean, but this is how I wanted to teach you, is that, that it's just like, I mean, it's just kind of like ballet, you can be like, doon, 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 and not like cursive where it has like a L like this and then it gets loopy and it looks like one of those hairs that could land in a urinal or in like, ladies' bathroom. It won't have that ugly loopy thing and then you just don't notice it. I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, you have to be very silly and not silly. You have to, there's no way you can't know what it means. But I mean, I'm just saying you have to know properly, with me teaching you. So, learning that, you can see how you can just constantly do this, and that the mouth is being resembled here and that toes are also being resembled in between them. And you can go with it, you can go in between it, with your pen and you can just point what it looks like. You can trace around it and feel inside of it, right around it. And you can say M, and then you can look at your mouth, M, and then there's one curve that will go all the way around your mouth, That way it's fully encapsulated and nothing is going to mess with it when you create a language or when you create art and when you do writing, is that you were just doing one line like this, and if it comes across something, then it's also kind of doing this, but it shouldn't have gaps where, it'll make little dots, and then you can pile up dots on it. It should have just where you can go like that the whole time. And that way you can kind of convert, like, I know how to go across this wall. I can just go from here to here to here to here, and there's nothing in between that's going to mess up me and suction and keeping something in place. It's going to have that perfect, precipitation of fog. It's going to have, a perfect temperature, so that is how language works. It's how the writing works. And it's all you need to be able to make the perfect language and perfectly understand how to do the rest of the language. And then what we're going to, figure out is, how, the thing is that, I've tried to test it as many times as I can, but figuring out the language, there's creases and privacy, you want to keep the moisture that, says this is me and it's going to stay in, I want it to be eternal. I don't want to be something that turns and then, something bad happens. I want something that turns and it's still eternal. And, and then, so now we're going to learn how to do the 4 languages. And therefore, it's omnidirectional. It's north, south, east, and west. It's horizontal backwards and horizontal forwards and vertical up and downwards 1. And it's really bad grammar to not know all 4 of these and be able to use them and have languages using them and then speak that way in code, because it beats any other code. It's better than gangster code. It's better than Mason code. It's better than government code, because you have more control over things that are still sitting there. And if we all learn this, then we'll be really, really, really awesome at something, and we'll figure out something. We'll just instantly, if you heard a song, if you hear a speech, shake someone's hand, you talk to them, and then they're like, man, this is a good method right here, and this is helping me, is what I want it to be. So I'm gonna give you a basic teaching on that too, because it's really necessary. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is another thing you'll have to learn, because see, your feet, walk like this, and they're also like, they have all 4 directions that they're looked at from. And people have been playing Nintendo for a long time, and it has up, down, and it has right and left. And we have to learn how to use ourselves properly, because there's ways to view us, and I don't want any trash to be what I'm saying. So here's what we're learning here, is that this is a cup. And right now when you're writing like this, like there's a cup, and you always hold it like this, when you're writing. You can say, hello, and nothing's coming in this mouth. Just tracing around the contour. Nothing's going to mess up that toe. It's going to have the perfect contour, right? And we're looking at this. We're saying, like, it's like that, is what I'm looking at is the, like the pressures here is like, is like dup or whatever I said. When there is, this water, when you're writing this way, like, hi, we're also we're just holding this like this. And we're trying not to make it go sideways. Because, you can write something and it be like, okay, let's just say we're going like vertical or I don't know what word to put. But let's just say that there's like a word. You have to be able to distinguish these four, and I've never done this, but we're doing this together. Like, let's just say that there's spilling, right? Spilling. Now, usually, like when we write, we only have one form of writing like that. And then, when I wrote that, each letter is its own letter. Spill, like it's all staying like this, but when I write it, and I wrote it, this is like the sitting down version, right? But, all four of the ways you can write have sort of it's like a U has water in it, because you can turn it like this. And then if I wrote spilling while this was going on, and then I'm not pouring it, then there's no fucking possible way, that this thing, would be perfectly right. If I wrote like S and then I did another, if it's not an S while I'm writing that exact S, I can't like turn like that and then it just starts spilling out when I don't want it to say something I don't want it to say. And then when I'm horizontal like that reading, all of it just pours out. And, when you're writing in all four of those languages, there should be a way to, I didn't really, hold on. Well, basically what I was saying was that, like in my other video that I was showing you, was that, was trying to tell you, which you couldn't hear because you were deaf, which you completely don't remember, was about how, like, I can write upside down, and then it seems to be like not another language. And I wanted there to be 52, letters, so there could be, like this upside down has this here, like a line, right? Like an upside down horizontal would probably have like a line under it, and then it would say like, like it'd have to be done differently, like, so if it was feet, then, or, the head or whatever, it would have to have another way to look at it, because the one we did was top down, which is what you have to know in order to, write, normally, like how you normally write. So, that's top down is the normal way we write, because we're going from this direction and we're going like that. And then, when we're writing upside down, we have to look at it like we'd have to, instead of it just be like this, it would have to be another way, because it's upside down. So we would be looking at our hands probably, I could say, because it's more comfortable. Or you could say that, you're like this, is what it feels like when you adjust yourself upside down to look at that. It's kind of like you're looking like this at the wall, just to see what's going on. You're walking like this, looking at the wall, It's how you can twist it to where you're looking like this, is down, you know, and yeah, maybe that's what down really means, I'm sure it would be, right? Just trying to sometimes I talk a little bit too loud because I'm trying to cancel out sound. But, that would mean that there is, 52 letters there. But see that there's 4 directions. And see, in order for me to observe myself, it can't be just one frame of the same one, because it would have to have, another one. So, if I'm looking at something upside down, and there's 4 languages here, obviously, the upside down one was, we all still have to hold this cup, but using that principle, I'm going to spill something if I don't have the 52 letters, and then have the other 52 going sideways. That way we have, a total of 104 letters we can use in English. And in China, they have, like 30,000 letters. And, using 24 letters is just so small and tiny to use, And I'm sure they look at us like fucking retards. It's like we're the ones who, might have invented science, but we're also the ones, who are very reckless and endangering and, hurt ourselves much more than people in China do. I think. We're the ones who did invent ATVs, and this reckless driving and shit, is what we did invent, that comes with, also having the wildest experiments because we basically invented the new world. But anyway, it should become a new language, and there has to be a zoom out for each one. So let's say there's horizontal, it'd be like, it has to be like, don't touch the foot, it'd be like, you have to come up with something that like, latus, like latusserful, like latruza, like latuza, you could say, then you go la, la tuza, like that. And then, you look at it upside down and you see horizontal is in it because you look H, O, R, I is kind of in there, Z, O, N, T, A, L. And you can do it really fast with the scratch work, and then you can learn how to write the horizontal. And you might have to do that a few times and then keep doing the words. Like we said it again, we say, like we see this here doesn't really look like much, and it wasn't as good of a translation, but it has to have that medium paste, to kind of go in between it, Latuazero. And it's supposed to make, like in language, it's supposed to, it's not supposed to have one of those little, dicks vibrating in it. It's supposed to be like, if there's jiggle, it should be body jiggle. It shouldn't have anything where, there's some other, like something in the way of it, that's just right in the way. So, la tools are, la tools real, and then you say it again, la tools real. Like that. And then you look at it backwards and it says horizontal, And you keep doing that until you can teach yourself how to change it, because you have to talk to yourself while you speak, la tools real. And then, la tools, and it's supposed to have a bird, like la tools will, like something has to stop it. It can't just have people just come in and hi, That is what I'm trying to stop. So you have to have like a lot of different ways to stop someone coming in saying, hi, you want to learn about this? And you could have already have known that. So no one has to come in and teach you about something you don't understand and don't want to know, so, and it has to be a line like this. And we could even, I wish I can, but we could actually go and say that that's a whole line. We could also take that line and figure out la tour. Like here in the I part, I'm kind of having a problem understanding, why it would like not continue there. I could go like this and la tour, but it has to have a full shape to go to the vowel, like la tools, and then you can go la tools, and then you can la, like la tools, until it kind of registers that says horizontal. See, horizontal. Because there's things in there that you would want to see. There's, if you have, there's extremities, there's beautiful angles of view that are so amazing, but it all is because, you're learning that, and you have to speak to yourself while you do it. And now let's try to do it sideways, because we have this, so we know that we can sit there and teach ourselves a new language by looking at this backwards. And I know that's still kind of fucked up to look at this like this. But you can teach yourself in code how to speak backwards fully when you look at la tool zero, la tool zero, la two is zero, like 2 is 0. And then you can see it there. Like 2 is 0 is the downside up one. But the upside down one can be like la two is 0, like it can be like it sounds like another language, or it can just be like 2 is 0 is what that is backwards, but you can learn what that is, and then you say, you don't have to do chicken scratch either, but in order to learn that, you can learn how the ups and downs go and how good it feels, to feel in between that toe or not, without it becoming someone's titties that you didn't want, but did. There's nothing wrong with titties, but there's just, anything that is like that, has, cleavage that, you don't want somebody to open up a titty and it's got like nasty dirt and bullshit in there you don't want, you want it to be nice and like nothing is inside, like if I wanted to replicate myself, and I'm saying this music will make it from point A to point B without any loss. I want to make sure that there's nothing like, if there's, from point A to point B, I don't want to have something that is not going to have what I wanted on this side, not be what I wanted on the other side, and that's what I'm trying to describe. So in order to have that, you have to learn how the chicken scratch works of it all. And that's how you could learn how to do it. Now, arrow is two, is a way to learn. And you do have to talk to yourself like you're talking to a person. You are a person. Even though you are science and what it represents, you still have to do that, La tools real until it's a full line. And if you have a problem somewhere, then you can go in the chicken scratch and say lat. There's a problem with me saying, like the T because, I went up like that, and you can say, well, lat, lat, it doesn't have to feel weird to do it and say it, so you have to go, until it'll do a whole line like that and say that the L can go all the way around the lat uls roha like that. And then you can add, the lat uls roha. There'll be parts where you go in this direction and then it will stop and go, and it's supposed to go like, it's supposed to be able to, be like a clock and then be able to, go all the way around. Like when you're saying H, it has to be an H, it can't just be a little like other stuff, So, that's basically it on learning, how to teach yourself the language backwards. And of course, even though like it could sound like complete English, it could also sound like Latvia's rule, which is probably like really cool sounding. It sounds like I said Latvia's rule, and it probably has to do with Latvia's might be important to me, but that is definitely very important to learn, and just to see how that works there, and and then the next thing that we can figure out, like with the vertical, about, how that worked was that we have a, this way to look at things. When you say horizontal, like this, horizon, it's facing this direction, but we are inclined to want to turn it this way. We're also inclined to turn it this way and see what it means. And we can turn it back up this way and see what it means. We know that's nos horu or something if it wasn't something I understand that isn't fully English, like. But, I'd want it to be a new language. I want it to be new letters, new words. So I'd have to be able to kind of split it up into different, sections and, different learning. And, man, so, sideways here, we'll have to make a distinction. So the H is a different H, because you can go like this and you just said all that, that's like writing with your left, or right, if you're left-handed. But I mean, horizon, so you have to look at it as something else. You could try this, you could try, taking horizon and then writing it a few times. Horizon. And then you can see how horizon, and horizon, is, a little bit different, this way now because we have more to look at, Or you could try like using math and you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then HORISON, HORISON, HORISON. Is that many, and then we can kind of navigate in it, because there's 7 by 7, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Even though there's also a give a couple, in there, so horizon, and then sideways, it would have to have a different shape besides the upside down and the other one that would be going the other way. So you'd have to be able to write the same words and the same things like this would be or something, if it was that way, horizon. Or maybe something else besides Japanese, maybe it would be H, I mean, you can do it that way, and just say H, say horizon. I think it's probably the coolest to be able to say like ooh, and then, O, and then like kind of E, different forms of the change, could be cool. But it has to be able to fully register it vertical also. And then you can, I mean, I know it doesn't look like much, but you do have to make another word, and it does have to end up sounding like Japanese, or something, because it has to have like different muscles used. You can't just use the same horizon as horizon as horizon, and H is always going to be H. But in order to make new words and letters and, to incorporate the rest of the language, you can take Japanese, you can take Japanese, you can take Japanese, you can take anything that sounds like something else besides what we're saying, I think Japanese is perfectly the opposite. Plus, they do go the other way, but it doesn't